Hey everyone, Tech Gamer here. In this video, we're going to attempt to take our Boeing 747 to its maximum rated altitude, and we're going to find out whether or not you can land a jumbo jet in the ocean. So let's get it started. Okay, welcome back. So here we are in a Boeing 747 on runway 13 at LaGuardia Airport. So I have never flown one of these planes before in this game, so I'm curious to see how well it will perform. This is a beautiful looking plane. So let's see how high we can take it. So the first thing we need to do is turn off the parking brake, which looks like it's right here. And we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and bring the engines up to 100%. This particular jet has 4 engines, and this jet is just massive, and it's beautifully rendered. I'm very impressed with it. So far we're heading straight down the runway. No drift whatsoever. That's a customs with propeller planes. But this plane does look like it needs quite a distance to take off. So we'll have to keep that in mind, obviously, which you normally would for most longer runways. And we are airborne. So let's go ahead and put up the landing gear. This is a beautiful plane. It's just very smooth to fly so far. Boeing 747s, they're my favorite planes of all of them to fly. I love the way they are and the way they handle in flight simulator games. So we're going to go ahead now and see how high can we get this plane. So the max altitude for this plane is about 45,000 feet. Given that this is my first time ever actually flying this aircraft in this game, I don't anticipate I'm going to be able to make it that high. But we'll have some fun regardless. So let's go ahead and just level out for a little bit, as you saw me do, just to pick up our speed, to keep it in the green whenever possible. So I'm trying to keep the nose pitched up. As you can see, I've got the trim at like 15%. Seems to be holding pretty steady. Vertical speed, climb speed, as you see the VS on the right there, you'll see that adjust a lot throughout this video, just to try and keep us at a optimal speed and not increase altitude too quickly. So there's some beautiful views of New York State, and just keep spinning around here. You can see Connecticut and some other states as well. Continuing to climb here, we're passing about to pass 6,000 feet. You can see the New York City right underneath the left wing engines there. So we're just picking up some speed again to continue our climb.
Boeing 747. Boeing 747 radar contact 6 miles northeast of Kennedy, 7,200 feet. Altimeter.
And continuing to climb, we're passing 8,500 feet.
Roger, Boeing 747.
Passing 9,000 feet. Rate of climb is a little too high. As you can see, my airspeed is slowing considerably. So I'm going to just bring it nose forward a little bit here. We'll go ahead and head out over the Atlantic Ocean. So we're now past 10,000 feet, coming up on 11,000 feet, and we're climbing nicely. So again, the max altitude in an aircraft like this is about 45,000 feet. A typical real-world scenario when you're in a jet like this, you'll fly somewhere between 30,000 and 35,000 feet. That's usually the optimal altitude for a plane like this. You would never see them at 40,000 feet or above. Get a good look here at the plane and some of the renderings on it. The engine detail is amazing. Pretty nice shot there from miles around. When I do these max altitude flight tests, I try and just do it in perfectly acceptable weather. The sun's out, there's no wind, no clouds. Just makes it that much more easier, and I can actually enjoy the experience versus having to deal with wind and turbulence and clouds and rain, snow, all of that stuff.
128.125 Dynasty 5322.
So we're passing 14,000 feet now, about to come up on 15,000 feet. According to the max specs on this plane, we're about a third of the way there. As you can see, all engines are operating at 100% still, efficiency still, which is great. Fuel, we've only burned 1% since takeoff. Going about 172 knots. I wish I was going a little faster. I'm going to have to make some adjustments to how I fly this plane to see if I can keep the speed up while the nose is pitched up. There's some adjustments you can make. I just need to practice more with this particular plane. So we're continuing to climb, passing 17,000 feet shortly. Now will start to come the time when I'll have to level off more to pick up speed so that I can keep my nose pitched up and continuing to gain altitude without the risk of stalling. So we're at 17,000 feet. Got a nice beautiful view of the surrounding area still as we head out over the Atlantic Ocean. You'll notice if you watch the instrumentations, especially on the bottom right side, you'll see the trim be adjusted constantly. I do that in an attempt to keep the nose pitched up. I really don't even have to touch the flight stick. I just keep adjusting the trim accordingly until I have to take manual control. About to come up on 20,000 feet soon. We're at 18,500. Again, the entire time this flight, the engine's so far at 100%. You'll notice the efficiency has decreased by 1%, and that number will continue to lower as we get higher in altitude, because again, the higher you are, the less air there is, so the engines become less efficient at how much thrust they can provide. So there's a beautiful shot of a beach and the ocean. So we're going to continue our rise in altitude. We have now passed 20,000 feet. And it's a beautifully gorgeous day. We're going to have to go ahead and level off here. We're starting to run into some altitude issues here. Whenever I pull up on the stick really hard, I notice my speed slows down, so I'm going to just feather the altitude a little bit here. So I've basically taken manual control versus using the trim as much to keep the nose up. And I can see we're starting to get some airflow visible behind the engines, because that is as the altitude goes higher, the air is thinner, and you start to see that trail behind the planes that you see if you ever look up in the sky on a beautiful day. So we're at 22,600 feet. Our angle of attack is about 8%. And continuing to climb. I anticipate I'll be able to get to about 30-ish thousand feet here before I start to run into issues. Because again, getting up to the max altitude, it's almost not possible. The videos that you see online where people reach like ridiculously high altitudes, those are all usually ones that the game has been hacked or modified to allow them to bypass the traditional expectations and limits of a plane. I don't do that in this case. I play with just as it would be in real life. I don't change any of the realism settings on any of the planes. So we're starting to bank to the right a little bit here. I gotta compensate for that. And we're passing 25,700 feet. Starting to getting a little bit harder to hold the nose up. Gotta keep feathering the flight stick here. May adjust the trim a little bit here. This is a beautiful plane to fly. It is so smooth and easy to maintain and manage, and just it's an overall enjoyable experience. You fly some of those other propeller planes or some of the little smaller jets and you constantly have to make adjustments, and this plane just is beautiful to fly. So it's getting a lot harder here to stay in the air. As you can see, I have to compensate a lot more for the keep the altitude going, and I'm starting to run into some pretty significant control issues here. It's getting really difficult. We're actually losing altitude at about 26,000 feet here, and it looks like we're going to be going for a little bit of a bumpy ride. If this was a real plane, I'd have the fasten seatbelt sign enabled right about now. So I think we were able to manage to maintain this altitude for a little bit more here. Let's go ahead and see if we can get some more altitude out of this. I have a feeling we're going to be going for a nosedive soon. It's getting very hard to continuing high up. So we're passing 27,000 feet. And you can see we've got the contrails behind the 4 jet engines here. Give you a better shot of what that looks like. It's always a pretty cool shot to see. And there we are. We can see the United States behind us. And we are essentially heading out over the Atlantic Ocean. And we're passing 28,000 feet. And our engine output is down to 95%. 29,000 feet. I'm hoping I can hit 30,000 feet here. That would be very nice. 29,500. And I think we're in for a little bit of a nosedive here. So I'm going to try. Oh, yeah. Controlling the plane has become very difficult. We were so close to 30,000 feet. We were at 29,800. So we are in a nosedive. Let me see if I can pull us out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the engines all the way down, put the flaps at full, and help slow our forward speed here, because we're basically at almost the max speed. We're getting to the max speed of the aircraft. So the trick to pulling out of a dive is you want to turn the engines all the way down. As you start to pull up out of it, bring the engines all the way back to full. And that'll give you that extra oomph you need to bring the nose up out of that dive. And now we are having some more control issues here. Again, we're in another dive. These dives are very difficult to get out of and stop. The stress on the aircraft is immense, and I'm surprised I haven't broken up yet. So we're flying very, very fast right now. We're getting almost to 300 knots, which is not what I'd want to be for this kind of dive, but that's okay. I think I can recover from this. So I think we're okay here. So I have an idea. Let's go ahead and try and see if we can land this plane in the ocean safely. I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but I like to have some fun after I do my main attempt of reaching a maximum altitude. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. This should be interesting. So we are at 365 knots right now, which is way too fast. So we're going to have to do some things to burn off some forward speed here. We'll do some banking, we'll do some turning, and just gradual things to get our speed down and keep the stress off the plane too much, because otherwise this plane will break apart. I'm actually surprised that hasn't happened yet, to be honest. So I've got the speed down to 260 knots right now, and we're passing 12,000 feet, just right about now, and continuing our descent towards the Atlantic Ocean. Passing 10,000 feet. And I'm probably going to do some gradual turns here to help get rid of some of this forward speed, because we're still going way too fast to have any chance of surviving a landing in the ocean. I wish I had Tom Hanks fly in the plane right now. He'd be able to land this no problem for me. So we're passing 7,500 feet, and we're going about 240 knots, still going way too fast. So I need to get rid of some of this excess speed here. What I've basically done is simulate engine failures. I'm not using the engines at all at this point. Just trying to gradually slow down by banking, turning, and just doing everything I can to stay in the air but not go too fast. So we'll go ahead and raise some altitude, like I just did, to burn off some of that excess speed, which I don't know how well that's going to help, because we still have to go down more. So we're going to pass 5,000 feet now. And again, as you can see, I'm just going up, down, up, down, up, down to keep my forward speed as low as I can without stalling out, which I'm getting out of that green. So I have to be very cognizant of that, because at this point, if I stalled, I would not be able to recover. It looks like we're going to be passing by another jet. I'm sure they don't mind. And there it goes. It looks like that is a 747 as well, I think, by the looks of it. Let's see if we can see it again. Yep, there it goes. Must be going out over the ocean. So we're going to go ahead and make a hard right turn here to try and burn off some of this speed that we've got going here. We're at 3,500 feet and descending rapidly. We've got tons of blue ocean to land in.
2,500.
And we've leveled out now, and we're continuing our descent, passing 2,000 feet. I'm just going to go up a little bit and try and burn off some of this speed, and then bring it back down. It's all about feathering when you're trying to do something like this. Just bring it up, bring it down, bring it up, bring it down. As you can see, we're down to about 150 knots. We're getting close to our minimum speeds for this altitude, so we want to be very careful here, because if we nosedive, that's nobody any chance of landing in the ocean. Passing 1,000 feet very shortly. And our speed is about 150 knots. Here we come on 1,000 feet. So this is make or break time. I have no idea what's going to happen, as I am actually recording this live as I am playing it. So we are passing 750 feet, and our speed is 130 knots. The water's getting awfully close down there. Everything looks steady. The landing gear is up. I'm going to try and skim along the top of the water here as long as I can. 300 feet. 200 feet, 100 feet, and try and skim it up here a little bit. And let's go ahead and try and touch this down. And we are hanging at 40 feet. And unfortunately, we have perished. Please everyone like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.